Hello, hello, Jordan Chariton live, Tuesday, January the 30th, the year 2024 in the United Corporations of America. Two big heads and hats. Steve Grumbine, returning champion of Real Progressives, it's been a while, Steve, but happy to have you back in the saddle for important news. Tell the audience what you're working on.
I'm sorry, I missed what I'm working on.
Real Progressives.
Oh, well, let me tell you what I'm working on. Let me just be honest with you real quick. Working on keeping the last few months of my mom's life going. Real Progressives, pretty much all I've been doing with that is the Macaroni and Cheese podcast. This is the first live appearance I've done since a kind of a flash video I did at the hospital where my mom was being worked on. So for those of you who all are praying, my mom's in hospice. For those of you who just care about humanity, your thoughts would be welcome. But my mom is in hospice right now, and that's been pretty much the heavy weight that overblows everything else. Sorry, with all due respect. There we go.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know if you had made that public. So.
No, not much good. Not much going on at the moment, other than I made the exception to be on the coup.
Well, we're happy to have you, and I've been reaching out to you. So obviously,
yes, you have. You've been the man.
So a lot to get to. I will also say we'll promote it throughout the show. After this, we're actually going to be premiering Ron Placone's short film, Frank Azzurri. So stay tuned. After this live stream, we are going to be premiering Ron Placone's short film, Frank Azzurri, which I believe is his first short film that we'll be premiering here. So after we end the live stream, it'll go straight to Ron's short film. It is a kind of interesting film. He is a San Pedro resident who anoints himself the poet laureate of San Pedro. And his shenanigans as poet laureate have quite the connections to our climate apocalypse, among other news stories. So stay tuned for Ron's Frank Azzurri. We'll be premiering that soon. We will also be going back to East Palestine starting tomorrow. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Lewis will be on the ground for the 5th time, this time for the 1-year anniversary of this disaster, which is still a fucking disaster, which Steve and I will get into a little bit later. It's like rinse and repeat, whether it be Flint or East Palestine. It's the same playbook over and over. They nuke or poison you and then sweep it under the rug and pretend it's all fine magically. So we'll get into that. But I wanted to start. I don't know if you've ever seen Wag the Dog, Steve, but it sure seems like Biden is kind of hinting at taking some military action. I don't know if it would be boots on the ground or just, nuke someone or drone someone but technically those would be war actions that he might take. We know will take without congressional approval. This in reaction to the drone strike that killed 3 Americans, soldiers in the country of Jordan. Let's play the clip. He was asked, he was kind of incoherent, if you ask me, but he was asked if he, has made up his mind on how to react to that drone strike. Let's play that, Colin.
Yes, I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it. I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. That's not what I'm looking for.
Donald Trump be allowed on the ballot?
As far as I'm concerned, that's fine.
Why do you even hold to be the threat to democracy?
So the first question there was, have you decided what you're going to do? Short answer, yes. I'll expand on that. This is from CNN. Biden told reporters Tuesday he has made a decision about the U.S. response to the drone strike that killed 3 U.S. service members. Technically the first attack, so they say, on U.S. soldiers in the Middle East for many years. Asked by CNN's Arlette Saenz whether he has decided how to respond, he said yes. Sunday attack on the small outpost was the first time American troops have been killed by enemy fire in the Middle East since the beginning of the Gaza war. The president reiterated that he is hoping to deter a broader conflict in the Middle East, saying on Tuesday, as he prepared to depart, I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. You know, Steve, interesting. He didn't say, I don't think we need any war in the Middle East. He said a wider war, which could be inferred to mean a lot of things. That doesn't mean he won't bomb some places. Doesn't mean possibly try to assassinate some international entities. Doesn't mean sanctions, which are deadly in many places. He's saying that whoever is behind the drone strikes were backed by Iran. The Republicans, the anti-war Republicans we heard about from certain lefties, they're all getting off on bombing Iran. But what do you think? Because, he didn't say anything so verbose and over the top, but it seems kind of evident to me that they're going to do something and do it soon. And it might be tied to his dwindling hopes of reelection.
That's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I have so little faith in elections, as you know, but in reality, I want people to think about this. I don't remember all these wars under Trump, and I'm not saying I like Trump. Don't confuse what I'm saying with being pro-Trump at all, because I'm not. But Joe Biden has been nonstop funding and egging on and being involved in military actions, whether it be Ukraine, whether it be in Gaza, with backing Israel's genocide. It doesn't matter what. This is one more piece of the pie with a warmongering president. And whether it's wagging the dog or whatever, whether it is doing this for election season, doesn't matter. Point is that you realize that if he's doing this for popular opinion, he's doing this because there's a lot of people in this country that are fucking pro-war, and it's disgusting. I mean, why else would he do it? Why else would he do it?
Well, I also I want to make a point, because I don't think you're intentionally trying to do it, but I hear this from a lot of leftists, like, Trump didn't do this shit. This is not defending Biden, because he is 100% a warmonger, and he's always been. But it's a little bit of selective history with Trump. Let's not forget, Donald Trump bombed Syria twice. Donald Trump assassinated Soleimani in Iran, which could have started World War III, to be clear. Donald Trump armed Ukraine. People forget that. Donald Trump, before Russia invaded Ukraine, armed Ukraine. Obama, not a lot to credit Obama with. Obama did not. So I just want to make clear, if people think, you vote for whoever you want, but if people think Trump, it's become this notion that Trump is not like a war hawk or this and that. He's not started a full throttle ground war yet. That is true, but he's not anti-war, and he will gladly give the generals what they want. Let's not forget, to Biden's credit, he ended the war in Afghanistan. With that, Trump did not. But I will say, the reason that American troops were attacked in Jordan is because Joe Biden is writing a check for genocide. That's it.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to be real honest. Going all the way back.
Did the CIA get to him, Colin?
I think. Can you hear me? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened here.
I think it was the CIA. Go ahead.
Yeah, it may have been. But look, if you can hear me, I'll tell you this. Going back to the very, very first of Biden's presidency, he had started right up front, day one, carrying on the anti-Russia and the anti-China stuff from day one, literally day one. He had already stirred that pot up. So one way or the other, like walking in the door, you knew that we were going to deal with some form of military action against Russia or China. Okay. And we still haven't seen China completely unfold yet. Okay. But we have watched us as we funded Ukraine until we lost. I mean, let's be fair. Russia won that outright. No question about it. And here we are again. We have Israel literally slaughtering. I mean, these people don't even have plastic fake guns like Tamir Rice. I mean, we're talking about literal genocide, and Biden is all for it, gung ho. Now, It's not about who's better, because I don't believe you get one way or the other. This is to make people realize, don't fucking think you're voting your way out of maniacal genocides and war. Don't think your vote is going to stop that. Just realize that the entire theater that you're pretending to give a shit about is always going to produce war, is always going to produce poverty, is always going to produce pain. It is not there to make us whole and to make us better, because that is not what our Constitution was set up with. That's not what any of it is. This whole goddamn thing is about the wealthy, moneyed class doing what it wants to do. And you have 0% proof that they ever listen to you and do what you want, period. Zero. And in fact,
And
there's a Princeton study that showed this in spades, that there is 0% of your opinion that they give a rat's ass about as far as it pertains to any policy matters whatsoever. It's not me making it up. It's not me being nihilistic. It's me following the facts and being
well,
a truth teller.
ding, ding,
So,
ding, 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 ding,
yes.
Steve. Guess who sent an email to the authors of that Princeton study to have them on Status Coup? He is referring to the Princeton study from 2014, so a decade ago, that said we are an oligarchy, not a democracy. Because I say, listen, all we're hearing about in these fundraising emails, save democracy, save democracy. Our sacred democracy is on the line. What fucking democracy? And I said, you know what?
Right.
I want to have the authors of this study on. They did a study in 2014 that found we were an oligarchy based on the type of legislation that passes, comparing it to actual popular support for policies. So we'll see if they're interested in coming on. Steve, I don't know if you saw this on the topic of Israel. We'll get back to Biden and war. You want to talk about theater? I've seen a lot of propaganda on CNN and other places. Even CNN had to call this out. CNN, they've been traveling with the IDF or doing like little, kind of accompanying the IDF to the tunnels or whatever. So I guess Israel's latest bombing was over a graveyard in Gaza, destroying a graveyard, and they claimed that they had to because there were tunnels underneath. Just watch, no commentary right now. Just watch this clip, and you got to see it to believe it.
We're asking the general if we can actually see the shaft to the tunnel.
But the answer is no.
So?
There's all kinds of machinery which I don't want you to take pictures of. The security might force.
But what about if we don't film it? We just look with our eyes.
And then you might fall in, the whole thing can collapse. Or you have to walk to the edge is not secured, it can collapse, there's machinery, so on. It's not something I'm going to take a risk on. Sorry.
The Israeli military later provided this drone footage, showing the tunnel shaft we entered and another one nearby. CNN geolocated the footage using this satellite image. This outline shows where the cemetery once stood, and these are the two tunnel entrances, clearly outside the graveyard. As for the tunnel they say they found here, where the cemetery once stood, the military never provided any evidence.
So let me get this straight. I don't know, Steve. I don't know about you. If, let's just say, my girlfriend or my wife lies to me about something important, I might have pause. I might want to explore that. Might want to consider making a change. Not a white lie is one thing, a real lie. CNN, they have lied to you in real time, or lying to you, like won't show you even with the camera off. They won't allow you to look. And your response is just to say at the bottom of the screen, CNN, could not verify. But then you're going to go back right tomorrow and do another story, accompanying the IDF. Literally, you are propping up people that you are exposing as lying to the world and doing, grave injustice and genocide. Yet you're going to go right back to doing propaganda for them the next day.
Jordan, let me ask you a question. When you saw me go on Jimmy Dore years ago, and I talked about MMT, I told the man everything there was to know about it.
Hold on. Travers, don't you start with the rumors. I do not have a girlfriend. I am a happily married man. Go on.
When I went on Jimmy Dore, though, to talk about MMT, he nodded, he shook his head, he understood everything. 5 minutes later, he had Max Keebler or some other crypto wacko talking about printing money. 5 minutes later, it wasn't, I mean, like literally. Then the next minute, he had Stephanie Kelton on. Next minute, he's got another crypto fascist on talking about, private money and printing money causing inflation and bullshit like that. So, to be fair, it's not just like CNN has amnesia. CNN, all these groups, and, all the alt media, you name it. You tell them something, it goes in one ear, right out the fucking other. It's no different. So when you look at something like this, they're expecting people that watch to have complete and utter amnesia. Watch 1 minute, oh my God, that's horrible. And the next minute they're right back. Oh yeah, man, we got to kill all the Palestinians, man. They're all terrorists, aren't they? Everybody's Hamas. Every single child, woman, man, grown up, adult, grandpa, you name it, all Hamas. Got to be Hamas. Wipe them off. And that's what they're doing. And literally, people just click, eating popcorn, not thinking. They're sucking it in like mother's milk, and they're not questioning. Only a few people really question. I see people out there literally carrying the water for fucking shit like this all the time. It's repulsive. It's ridiculous, but they're so fucking propagandized that they don't even know which end is up. I mean, literally, it's ridiculous, man.
Well,
It's not narrow though. It's all over the fucking place.
The amazing thing is, if you were a real journalist, right? Real, like, rabble-rousing journalist outfit, which obviously they're not. The holy grail of journalism is to prove that the government is lying. I mean, Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward has made a life out of it. They did one good thing, and they've been at the buffet table ever since, especially Bernstein. Forget, he's legendary for just going around, DC and trying to hit on women at buffets. Anyway, but the point is, they could have literally in that moment been adversarial, been like, if you don't show us, we have to assume you've just committed a war crime and are lying. They could have done that, spun off that segment as promo commercials, CNN, through our I don't have a geolocator to show that they lied. And they could have played that up. That's the kind of things, if we actually had a real journalistic industry that valued the truth, you could win a Pulitzer for, because you have exposed the mighty IDF of lying. And you're literally catching them in a lie in real time, because he won't allow you to look at what seems like either it's a non-existent tunnel or it was not where you said it was. Yet it's kind of just like the footnote at the bottom of the graphic. Oh, we cannot verify. They don't say that they lied. They don't say that, this is against the Geneva Convention, what they did in that instance. So it's beyond just normal propaganda. It is literally covering for them that they nuked a cemetery that clearly, based on CNN's own reporting, did not have any tunnel or threat at it. And by the way, that's not the first great cemetery they've bombed. It's not the first market, hospital, etc. And it just shows you, even when an outfit like CNN is catching the IDF, and replace the IDF with the American military, catching them in a lie, they're still gonna basically water it down, sanitize it, and not make hay about it, which tells you we have big problems in this world. And part of it is the media is in league with these war criminals, which then brings me back to Biden. Listen, Biden after Iraq was already a fucking disaster. We're talking like a year after, was going, I forget where it was, going to conferences, standing up saying we need to support President Bush. And this is the right war, this and that. He was still wagging the dog after people were turning against Iraq. Now, if Palestinians get killed, thoughts and prayers. If school children get killed, thoughts and prayers. We can't do anything. If 3 American soldiers who, I feel for their families, obviously I'm not happy that they were killed, but 3 American soldiers in Jordan, I don't know why they're there. I don't know why we're there. They get killed. That's that will be the excuse to maybe bomb Syria if they say Syria was involved, maybe bomb Iran, maybe bomb a few places, maybe an assassination attempt. And frankly, there's a lot of independents that are on the fence right now about Biden. He might be making a political calculation. I could win back some. He's not going to win back the young people, but maybe he could win back some of the independents Maybe he could win back, some, I don't know, suburban voters that he's lost. Maybe they could make it a broader thing. All I know is when he said yes, so definitively like that, yes, I've made up my mind. To me, that says, look out, 11 p.m., midnight, Friday night to a CNN alert. We've bombed somebody, which is a war act. That is an act of war without congressional approval.
Yeah, I want to get back to the media for a minute. I mean, you made a great point. I mean, obviously, if the media, if you're thinking about capitalism as it stands and the idea of them making the big story and proving the government's corrupt and so on and so forth, right? That used to be the gold standard of what you thought journalism was. They're not doing that. Why not? You made the great point that maybe they're in bed with the genociders and the warmongers and the disgraceful military industrial complex. Maybe they're in bed with that whole apparatus, right? But then you ask yourself, if that's the case, what else are they in bed with those exact same people for? When it comes to elections, when it comes to climate crisis, when it comes to any other factoid that they put out there. I mean, we are living in a disinformation universe that is so factually unfulfilling and so repulsively like your body rejects it, unless of course you're just sitting there like plugged in and like absolutely unquestionably just listening and sucking it in. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people really are doing that, unfortunately, right? But where is it coming from? It's coming from because they are a part of that private oligarchy, not a public work. Because remember, when these people from Wall Street come into government 5 minutes later, and then they go back to industry again after they've destroyed whatever they could and sucked out of the world whatever regulations they could to benefit their people, going back to the mortgage crisis of the 2008-2009 timeframe and throughout all of these little blips. This is the same thing, man. It's almost it's so vast and broad, and it's so hard to accept that the brain immediately rejects it because, oh my God, what do I do? If I admit this, if I acknowledge this, now what? You can almost, I've been on this kick with that dude, where's my car part of the video where Austin Kutcher is at the Chinese food drive-through. And he's like, I'll take this. And the lady goes, and then, right? It's like, people stop short. It's like riding the metro and realizing there's 10 stops left, but they keep getting off early because they're afraid of what lies at the end of the metro. They're afraid to get off in the last stop to figure, oh shit, we're being lied to. This isn't real. This is a big theater. And there's plays above us that have nothing to do with us. They don't care about us. There's nothing to do with us. This whole shit show is about manufacturing consent. And there's people out there that suck and lick the boot and help carry that water for the oligarchy. And it's like trying to smash your head through a brick wall to get people to wake up. But you just showed it. You laid it out right there. And if people take that metro to the last line, it's going to be a really, really terrifying truth that they are literally being lied to round the clock, 24/7, buying into systems that aren't real so that they feel like they're plugged in, doing things because they think they're plugged in. But in reality, they're being lied to and used and twisted and wrapped around their finger while this shit goes on. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying to see it. And it's terrifying to see people not get it and keep rolling back into it. Anyway, that's,
and by
that's
the
my
way,
take.
I should have put this out there when we were talking about it earlier. This is from CNN. Biden's response to Jordan attack is likely to be powerful, but U.S. is wary of triggering a wider war with Iran, officials say, i.e. the Biden administration is leaking this to the news. The U.S.'s response to the drone attack in Jordan that killed and wounded U.S. service members on Sunday is likely to be more powerful than previous American retaliatory strikes in Iraq and Syria. Officials told CNN, though the Pentagon and White House are being careful not to telegraph. So they're basically telling you, yeah, we're gonna go even further than Trump did in terms of retaliatory. By the way, it's not retaliatory. We are the instigators because we are writing the check that is slaughtering and committing genocide. The other thing I'll say before we move on, and smash the like button. We got 400 people watching, so make sure you press that like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. Super chats are very much appreciated. Like I said, we are sending Lewis back to East Palestine tomorrow. So he'll be back in East Palestine, Ohio, tomorrow through the weekend, covering the 1-year anniversary of Norfolk Southern chemically nuking the town of East Palestine, which affected surrounding areas too. This is Lewis's 5th reporting trip for Status Coup there in a year. I know I'm a broken record, but it does cost money to cover these trips. The hotel, the rent-a-car, the flight, food. So please, super chats are appreciated, or sign up as a member. But there's another element here. You might think I'm a cynical Susie, Steve, but I got to say, Biden's going for that Republican money too. Biden's trying to get Republican donors who don't want Trump, the never Trumpers. And what do those rich white conservatives like too? They like war. And they don't like Trump because they're on their high horse that, they're down with corruption, just not, not the nastiness and the, craziness of Trump. But I think Hillary Clinton did not hide it, and Biden did not hide it, that they were courting Republican donors. And I think part of this strategy to react more aggressively than previous retaliatory strikes is to try and get more money from Republican donors.
Look, there's one group that is benefiting from all this, and that's capitalists, period. Literally, period. The Democrats. What did Pelosi just say the other day to the activists that were coming out to her property? She's like, go back to your headquarters in China. They're disgraceful. They're disgusting. And I think to myself, for years, I look back, Facebook is evil, right? It's kind of like looking at a fat mirror. You're looking in the mirror and you see all your roles and stuff like that. Looking back at your timeline for years past, the posts you did when you believed and you were suckling up and you were believing and you were hoping and Bernie and hoping and this and hoping and that. And you look and you see and you look how it played out, and it aged like a bad wet egg fart in an elevator, man. It's just not a good thing. And looking at it now, you got to realize at the end of the day, it's capitalists at the end, whether it be Trump, whether it be Biden, it doesn't make a shit's bit of difference. The same people, the Jamie Dimons of the world, still win. The Halliburtons still win. The BlackRock still win. It's never we, the people, that win. In fact, we'll sit there and bitch at each other about, why should you get free college? Why should your health care get taken care of? Why should you get a free student lunch? Why should you get anything? Why should you not be dead for making bad choices or some other worthless, disgraceful, disgusting kind of thing that we throw at each other while they're sitting there laughing? They don't give a shit. They're above that. Like they're living a level above. Just, there was some dude that was a Bernie bro back in the day, one of our fellow Bernie friends, that put this big thing out there about, complaining that blue collar assholes were basically whining about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and all this stuff about, they just hate him because, what if young 30 somethings making it in this world and living well and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, you really don't get it. There's people out there foregoing getting their teeth fixed while this shit's happening. These rich people, they don't see this stuff. They don't care. Their lives are living above the blast radius, man. It doesn't matter which one of these guys go. Whoever has money is going to make out. That's the point. And we just sit there and think that, but Biden's going to do great things for us. We'll just pull him left. Or Trump, oh my God, he's so horrible. His tweets were atrocious. And, on and on and on. And reality is, it doesn't make a shit's bit of difference. The rich are still getting rich. It's class war 100%. And we don't even recognize it because we're too busy swooning over rich people. Fucking. And I got
news for you. I got news for you. I don't hear a lot of this talk, but let's keep it real. Listen, I am not at all defending what Osama bin Laden did or what Al Qaeda did. But the reality is, his hatred of America, one of the main tenets of it was America's support for Israel. And Israel, the occupation of Palestine, yada, yada, yada. That was one of the main reasons he even created Al Qaeda. So you don't think the Palestinians who are having their families slaughtered, their brothers and their kids and their whole neighborhoods, you think they're only going to want revenge against Israel? You think they're only going to become radicalized against Israel? or Israel's benefactor too. So all this talk about national security, well, I don't want this. I'm not calling for it, but I would not be surprised in a couple of years if there's some type of an attack here in America or an attempted attack. And the reasoning is what we're seeing play out right now in Gaza from Joe Biden, because Israel might be dropping the bombs. We are writing the checks for them. So that for all these people who care about our national security, well, you got to think longer than 2 weeks and 2 months at a time. What about 2 years? What about 4 years? Because you are radicalizing a whole new generation now to attack Israel and America.
I got to tell you, as a regular dude that has a regular life and suffer regular things that regular people suffer, I look at this and I say to myself, I support the people fighting back against the oppressors, period. I support the people that aren't taking it on the chin, even if they're getting annihilated. I support them at all times. I always will support the guy that's fighting against the oppressor. And in this case, when I watch the US doing what it's doing, and I watch what any of the Middle East would do, the people, the people that are getting killed right now, any response they have is righteous anger. Anything that they do at this point is righteous anger. In the United States, if people really saw the oppression that's being done to their own people in the United States, just the regular citizens of this country, as we get killed by being denied health care and we get killed by being put into situations where there's austerity in the streets and people have to reduce themselves to doing something illegal to survive. And we're like, well, they should have made better choices so they get shot. And if we ever realized what was being done to us, we would fight back like the Palestinians are trying to fight back against Israel too. We'd probably get mowed down like the Palestinians are getting mowed down in Gaza as well. And I think that reality is terrifying to people. So they just ignore it because they know, well, what's the alternative? Do I run face first into a machine gun? Or do I sit there and deep throat a Hellfire missile? And at the end of the day, it's scary. But reality is that we have to organize outside of this system. We have to build dual power. We have to build mutual aid so that people are able to resist and really, truly fight back. Not just say it in a live stream, but do it in real time, in real life, out in the streets. If we're not willing to do that, we're just going to kind of go complacently as we allow the shit to happen on our own soil and as we do it in our name. Every time these fuckers try and tell us it's our tax dollars going over there, I say, fuck you, it's not our tax dollars. Our tax dollars are deleted. You're doing this on your own volition. You're creating brand new fucking money, spending it into existence to annihilate these poor people in Gaza, to annihilate people around the world. This is not our tax money. There's not nearly enough taxes being raised to do all the damage they're doing. Wake up. This is the idea that you have agency by calling it taxpayer money fucks your brain up. It's the dumbest fucking thing of them all. And reality is that they're doing it. They're doing it right now, making you feel like it's in your name. They're doing this shit without you. If you didn't get a single nickel of tax taken out of your paycheck, they could still bomb the fuck out of whoever they want. They could still fund Israel to the extreme. They could still fund Ukraine. I mean, all of it.
Here's the bottom line. Remember that Washington Post story, the rare good investigation for the Washington Post, I think it was a year ago, where they basically exposed the boondoggle that the Afghanistan war was? We were they were literally told, you must spend $300 million a day. Let me repeat, $300 million a day. Do you think your taxes cover that? No. There's not enough tax money in the world from all of us to cover $300 million a day to do God knows what in Afghanistan. Anyway,
listen, your friend, your favorite friend, Nina Turner, lives and dies by telling the world our hard-earned tax dollars are going here. And we tell her daily, minutely, Nina, stop carrying Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher's water, for Christ's sake. Seriously, stop giving them the belief that our money is going this. They are doing it without our consent, period. They don't even need our money. That's this like facade they give you. to make you believe that they're doing it for you. They did it all for you. I mean, literally, they're literally thinking that you're stupid enough to believe that your hard-earned tax dollar is paying for some poor kid's student lunch. It's paying for all the crimes and of drug addicts. They're buying up all the stuff, and your hard-earned tax dollars are paying for their mistakes, and your hard-earned tax dollars. We're not sending any fucking tax dollars to Israel. We're not sending any fucking tax dollars to Syria or Russia or anybody else you don't like. Whoever it is you don't like, we didn't send them a single tax dollar. Not one, not an eighth of one, not a quarter of one, nothing. Period. That's all new money that our United States government does. It does this shit without your consent. It does all of it without your money, and it could do it without your money forever. It only makes you think it's your money so that you fucking go, oh, my hard-earned tax dollars. Stop.
Now, 460 people watching. Smash that like button. Share this live stream. Reminder, 6 o'clock Eastern. So right after this live stream, you don't have to go anywhere. Our live stream will redirect. We are premiering Ron Placone's short film, Frank Azuri. So that'll be at 6 o'clock Eastern right here. As far as I know, his first ever short film. I won't give the full synopsis now, but I watched it. It's badass. So stay tuned for that at the top of the hour. Colin, I'm going to do an audible. I want to move to East Palestine. Don't go anywhere, because this topic is actually kind of connected to everything we're talking about. Since we have a dysfunctional media system, Steve, a town in America could literally be nuked by a massive multi-billion-dollar corporation with a chemical shower of highly cancerous chemicals showered over it, which travels to the west in other parts of Ohio, which travels to the east in parts of Pennsylvania, which travels north. I had people emailing me as far as New Hampshire that they were symptomatic after the Norfolk Southern derailment and chemical detonation over East Palestine. Well, we've done something a little radical here at Status Coup. Stayed on the story rather than abandoning it. You know how in media, when there's mass shootings and 20 school children are slaughtered, they kind of cover it for a week and then move on? You know how in media, when a community is poisoned by their government in Flint, they kind of cover it for a week and move on? I could go on and on. We actually stay on things to our detriment because we lose money. Because on YouTube and other entities, the algorithm doesn't pick it up after the rest of the media stops covering it. So now when I cover Flint a decade later, I'll be lucky if I get 1,000 views on a video. When we cover East Palestine, we're lucky if we get 2,000 views on a video because YouTube won't recommend it because it happened a year ago. But we stay on it because I and Status Coup, we do not believe that Americans should be poisoned by their government or corporate America, to have the corporations and the government together cover it up and then leave them to slowly die. And that's what's going on in East Palestine. Lewis, we are sending him back tomorrow, his fifth time in East Palestine in a year. We do not take money from big banks. We do not take money from fossil fuckers. We do not take money from big real estate. We do not take money from big pharma, Silicon Valley, the military industrial complex. We are able to send them back from our members signing up $5 to $10 a month. Please support this reporting. StatusCoup.com/join. We're trying to stay on the ground as much as we can, but money is tight. If you got $5 to $10 a month, we're not talking the talk. We're walking the walk by continuing to go there. But the reason I wanted to bring this back up, and again, Lewis will be there tomorrow for several days interviewing residents who, by the way, we're talking to residents, their children are still have bloody noses. I just talked to a mother whose child was bleeding out of his pee-pee. Okay? We have people, we have men getting breast cancer now, rare in East Palestine. People with severe cognitive issues in East Palestine because literally Norfolk Southern unnecessarily, a multi-billion-dollar railroad company, unnecessarily detonated several train cars with highly toxic, cancerous chemicals over this small town. Well, I want to bring something up because the media just chose not to cover it. I think it's kind of scandalous, Steve. I don't know if you've seen this. A couple months ago, there was a hearing on the Norfolk Southern train derailment, right? All you're seeing is the PR. Oh, you're seeing fluff pieces come out, PR spin come out. Oh, Norfolk Southern, they're supporting East Palestine a year later. You saw this with BP after the oil spill. You see this with all sorts of bullshit media stories, sanitizing and making it seem like the corporations are doing the right thing. No, they're not. But the owner of the chemical company, and if you don't know this story, basically what happened, the train derailed because the railroad industry has cut corners. They've moved it from 3 or 4 staff on the train down to 1 or 2 if you're lucky. They have brake systems in many cases that are as old as a civil war, okay, because they don't want to spend the money because profit. But the train derailed for a lot of basically them cutting corners and not investing in safety. And because they had all these chemicals, essentially, it was going to take a while to reopen the train tracks because you have to it's a slow process to extract those chemicals from the cars. Well, if it's a slow process, that means this is a very critical railroad crossing. It carries a lot of things, including weapons, by the way, east from the Midwest. And essentially, it would have cost Norfolk Southern over $1 million a day every day that this railroad was shut down. This track was shut down. So what did they do? They basically detonated the cars with this vinyl chloride and said we had no choice. There was an imminent explosion about to happen. Did they provide any evidence that there was an imminent explosion? An uncontrolled imminent explosion? No. Well, in a hearing several months ago, I don't know, I think it's kind of scandalous. The owner of the chemical cars basically said, we told them repeatedly in the days leading up to the controlled burn, there was no imminent risk. Let me repeat, no imminent risk of those cars polymerizing is the scientific term, meaning having an uncontrolled explosion. It's a bit of a long clip, but I want to play this for you folks who haven't seen this, because this should be a fucking scandal. People should be in prison. Norfolk Southern executives should be in prison. The EPA officials who have helped them cover this up. Let's play this. This is the owner of the chemical car company explaining what his communications were with Norfolk Southern in the days before they decided to detonate, I think, five cars of vinyl chloride.
Many of these rail cars breached upon derailing, which released their contents into the environment and fueled the initial fires at the derailment scene. The 5 tank cars carrying oxyvinyl's product derailed without breaching. The pressure relief devices on all 5 cars operated as intended, preventing damage to the tanks by relieving the elevated pressures that were caused by the surrounding fires. On Saturday morning, February 4th, Oxyvinyls was notified of the train derailment that involved tank cars carrying our VCM product. Following the notification, Oxyvinyls activated its Special Situations team in Dallas. We sent a technical team to East Palestine, and we communicated with Norfolk Southern and its contractors regarding the properties of stabilized VCM. To my knowledge, no other shippers responded with this level of support. On Saturday evening, February 4th, representatives of Oxyvinyl spoke directly with representatives of Norfolk Southern and its emergency response contractors regarding conditions at the derailment site. We made it clear, based on our expertise of the chemical properties of our product, that stabilized VCM would be unlikely to spontaneously polymerize under the conditions described to us by Norfolk Southern and its contractors. Polymerization of VCM is a very exothermic reaction, which generates significant heat, resulting in increased pressure within its container. If that pressure is not relieved, it can cause a failure of the container. An uncontrolled VCM polymerization reaction would have an obvious temperature rise that would continue through the duration of the exothermic reaction. For this reason, we emphasize with Norfolk Southern and its contractors the importance of monitoring the temperature of the rail cars. And on Sunday morning, February 5th, we further reinforced our view that polymerization was not occurring during a call with Norfolk Southern representatives. As previously mentioned, Oxyvinyls had dispatched a 3-person team to Ohio in order to make certain that we had representatives on the ground who could serve as a resource to Norfolk Southern and those managing the response effort. My colleague on the panel, Steve Smith, led that team, and he arrived in East Palestine on the afternoon of Sunday, February the 5th. On Sunday evening, Steve met with Norfolk Southern's emergency response contractors and, for the third time, stated Oxyvinyl's view that polymerization of VCM was not occurring.
In English, for those that failed science, because that kind of gets complicated with some big words, 3 times, the owner of the chemicals that were on those cars told the billion-dollar corporate criminals from Norfolk Southern, yeah, there's no risk of imminent explosion. We don't need to do a burn of any sorts. We don't need to explode the cars. You don't need to do anything. Just need to, fight the fire, because obviously there was a massive explosion and fire after the derailment. The firefighters were fighting it. But the actual safe option was to extract the chemicals from the cars, which I don't know the exact timeline, but could have taken several days, if not a week. They came up, they disregarded what the experts who make the chemicals told them. They came up with a cockamamie bullshit fakakta lie that we had to do a controlled burn, which Status Coup, to our reporting, broke, was actually a illegal open burn without the proper safety protocols. And they basically, in an uncontrolled fashion, nuked East Palestine, Ohio, surrounding communities in Ohio, Western Pennsylvania. And a year later, we talked to residents now who have cancer. Just a year later, we're talking to residents that their kids still have nosebleeds. We're talking to residents that blood is coming out of other parts of their children. We're talking to residents that have chemical rashes, not rashes, chemical burns across their skin. We're talking to residents, severe cognitive issues already a year later. We're talking to residents, trauma, mental health, depression, anxiety. These are just some of the illnesses in America. In America. Did you see any of that hearing on the national news? Did you see that hearing on your local news? Have you even heard about East Palestine within the last 4 or 5 months?
Nope.
And why this is so important? Why this is so important? And I always say this about Flint too. It's not about Flint, and it's not about East Palestine. Of course, we care about the people there. What makes you think this can't happen to you? Maybe it won't be a railroad. Maybe it will be something else. Maybe it won't be your water. Maybe it will be something else. Corporate greed, corporate sociopaths, corporate psychopaths that are being assisted by the government. The EPA has covered up everything Norfolk Southern has done. They have toed the line that this was necessary to do. Even when we have caught them in the lie, they have then backtracked. We got an EPA official, Steve. He didn't know he was being recorded by a resident saying, yeah, this was an open burn. They didn't have to do this. And then the agency just said, well, he misstated. This is, I don't think I'm being too dramatic at all. And I have been told this by experts in industrial gases. This is like a mini Chernobyl. This is going to be one of the worst cancer clusters possibly in American history. And if you're watching from East Palestine, I'm sorry to tell you that. Residents have tested with elevated levels of vinyl chloride, which is what they detonated months later. And nobody's covering it. I shouldn't say nobody. To their credit, News Nation, which is a smaller cable news outlet, that's the outlet that Chris Cuomo, after he got the boot from CNN, he's now on News Nation. They've covered it a little bit more than others. They did a town hall a couple weeks ago. So credit to them. Other than them and us, other than puff pieces about Norfolk Southern, like, you want to talk about saving democracy? What democracy? Americans are being nuked.
Democracy.
Americans are being nuked, and now they're going to die prematurely because of a railroad company. The Attorney General is not investigating Norfolk Southern, not the Ohio Attorney General, not the Pennsylvania Attorney General. There's no criminal case against Norfolk Southern. There's no inquiry into what did the EPA know and when did they know it. The Ohio EPA, the Ohio Health Department. People in East Palestine are desperate. Not all, but a lot of them want to move. Norfolk Southern's not paying for permanent relocation. They've paid for hotels for a year, which is pennies for them. And this shit is going on out in the open. And you want to talk about our democracy is at risk? Our lives are at risk. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to those that still going to go out there and door knock and phone bank and donate and do and pretend like what we're saying here is, oh, that was good for that live stream, but oh, now today I'm right back to doing the normal thing. Just know there is no democracy, folks. Oh, but there's only half the people that vote. Please stop. I'm begging you to stop, because everybody that you've elected, you had Donnie Tiny Hands and Orange Mancini or whatever the fuck names you used for Trump. You all Trumpistan crap. You went through your thing. Now you got the Biden stands. You got Pete Buttigieg and all the other people that you had to elect to save democracy from Donald Trump. And they did this too. Do you understand? I'm not saying good Trump. I'm saying you got a shit sandwich there because you believe in a fake democracy. And I'm always chased around by friends that think I'm the one that doesn't have a fucking clue. And that's the best part. I just smile and want to give them a good old hug and tell them how much I love them while they're still talking about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. The reality is that the problems we're facing right now are scary as fuck. If you're real and you're looking at it very soberly, no fanaticism, no craziness, just looking at things, are you more afraid of Hamas, or more afraid of ISIS? Are you more afraid of any of these other, the Russians, or are you more afraid of your own government's complicitness with corporations as they destroy you here domestically? Who are you really afraid of if push comes to shove? Are you more afraid of the healthcare industry that denies you services, that denies you healthcare, actually denies you what you need? Are you more afraid of the IRS coming and taking your home because they fuck you on a tax bill? Are you more afraid of somebody here? You're driving down the road and oh my God, I forgot to get my inspection done. The cop pulls you over. Who are you more afraid of? For real.
I would add, getting slaughtered at a concert, a school, a mall.
Yeah, all the above. Our enemy is right here. Our enemy isn't just us, it's above. And we cannot get everybody to unite to fight the fucking power. But this is real. And I'm telling you right now, I've got friends whom I love dearly that will tell me I'm wrong, that elections are great, and just got to vote for a few more progressives. And oh, Steve, you just don't get, Steve, you're so, oh, but Steve, Steve, don't you know about the Koch brothers? Don't you know about money in politics? Don't you know that if we just got money out of politics, everything would be better? And I'm telling you right now, there's a parliamentarian. Why do we have a parliamentarian? Why does that person have that power? There's a Supreme Court that can overrule all of democracy with no problem at all. Why do we need that? Why do we need a Senate that takes away representative democracy at the House level? Why do we need a electoral college? Why do we need all these democracy deniers? Every step along the way, super delegates, every step along the way, there is something there to prevent a real democracy. But yet some fucking Easter Bunny loving fool will come to me and tell me about how we just need to vote harder. We need to donate more. We need to door knock better. If we just fix it from the inside, it's stupid. It's ridiculous.
I don't want to cut you off, but we got to go in 2 minutes. Somebody asked, somebody said, Jordan, Steve, we're with you, but what do? We've told you what you do. We need to economically organize. Again, I tweeted this earlier. God bless. Millions of people in this country have already protested out at these protests on behalf of Palestine. They did it for George Floyd. They've done it for climate. They've done it for healthcare. You got to add your wallets to your feet on the ground. Imagine if even 1/10 of the millions of people that have already protested across this country on behalf for Gaza, for the people of Palestine, for a ceasefire. Imagine if even 1/10 of them protested, economically boycotted Amazon, corporate banking, big box retailers. It's not easier said than done. You'd have to add into that boycott a pot for mutual aid for the affected workers, because we don't want to fuck them. We want to be able to distribute funds to them. But we could keep protesting on the ground, boots on the ground, over and over again with our signs and chanting the same shit, but it's not doing anything if there's not a threat attached to it. And the only threat that these people care about, when I say these people, I'm talking about the donors. That's why we got the flag behind me, and I call it the United Corporations of America, because it's not Biden running the show. It's not Congress running the show. It is the donors. They are the president. They are the Congress. They determine what concessions and what is given to the people and what is not. So if all the people protesting, if even a tenth take economic actions to stop spending your money at Amazon or Walmart or fill in the blank, Chase Manhattan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, we could go on, economic hit list. And I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about economic strategy here. Then the donors, they don't want to lose even a percentage of profit for their quarterly report. Then they say to their servants, Biden and the politicians, you got to end this. This is hurting our profits. That's how it happens. Look to France. They've gotten a lot of concessions through their strikes. I got to go. Hold on.
I was going to say there's a 10-minute cushion if you want to do super chats.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So, Steve, did I get anything wrong? That's what we got to do. I'm not saying there will be a general strike tomorrow, but you got to crawl before you can walk. And it pains me. We're happy to cover the protest. John Farina has been out and has covered over 20 protests in New York City and D.C. It's important to get your voice out there. It's important to boots on the ground. But I've been doing this almost 10 years. I keep covering the same protests, and they keep circling the same blocks, chanting the same shit with the same signs, just different faces. And they'll let you protest. If you get a little too rowdy, they'll use their private security, the police, to crack your skulls. But they're not going to.
This is what democracy looks like.
Right. But the reality is, and I'm not as cynical as Steve. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote. I think voting's important. But we're not getting out of this mess just through voting. The only thing that power concedes is a demand. And that demand, frankly, the only thing they care about is if you hurt their wallets.
The only thing I would add to what you said was, in order for a general strike to really hold the kind of water you want it to hold, you got to be able to build power outside the duopoly, outside of the electoral system. You got to have mutual aid. You got to build dual power. You got to take a page out of the Panthers book, and you've got to understand that without that, people aren't going to be able to take off. They're not going to be able to leave work. They're not going to be able to do things to make that general strike hold up. And this is what happens to unions. They don't have enough strike funds to be able to support people walking away from their job doing the strike, so that people cross the line. This is why a general strike only works if you've prepared for it. It's just like monetary sovereignty. You got to earn it. In this case, you got to earn a general strike. You've got to build that parallel institution. You got to build the mutual power, and you got to build the mutual aid, the dual power mutual aid outside of the system. Without that, all of these ideas are going to be a flash in the pan, and it's going to be a blip on the radar, and they're just going to keep marching. And I think that that's the only thing I would add to that, that in order to have a general strike that matters, you got to have appropriate mutual aid, and you got to build that dual power. You got to build something that is organized enough that they take it seriously. Otherwise, I think we're
and frankly, and full with the caveat that I know a lot of people are not happy with the UAW right now for endorsing Biden. I don't want to say put that aside, but for a second, let's point out that's why I think what the UAW is doing, organizing wise, it's not getting headlines, folks. 3 months after winning a major contract, they've already gotten 10,000 non-auto workers to sign union cards in southern states. Mercedes workers, Volkswagen workers, and a couple others. It's a major deal. What that means is 10,000 non-union workers have signed union cards at these other auto plants in the South that they want to become a union with the UAW. The UAW is trying to line up the expiration of their current contract, the one that they just got, with other industries in May 2028, so that it's not just the auto industry going on strike, but the healthcare workers, the teachers, etc. That's how you build something, whether you call it a general strike or not. That, I think, is what you're talking about. You need to have the infrastructure and the structure. It can't just be labor. It can't just be organized labor. Right. It has to be many different things at once. And that's why I brought, you can't just have a general strike with no mutual aid pot, because you don't want to, destroy. Most of these workers cannot go without one paycheck, let alone several. It takes organizing. It's going to take probably years of planning. I know people want it tomorrow. The French are in Paris and whatnot. They're able to do it much more regularly because they have basic security as citizens through universal health care, strong labor unions in France, other benefits as a European citizen that we do not. That way, it's not, it's not as worrisome to go on strike or potentially lose your job because you have healthcare, you have other benefits, and frankly, it's illegal in France to get fired for going on strike. But I say, what do we do about it? Hey, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. I'm not anti-protest. We'll continue to cover the protest, but you got to change it up. You can't just be boots on the ground because they're not listening. They're not.
That's right.
They're not listening. Let me read some super. As a reminder on that East Palestine topic, for those that came late, we are going back there starting tomorrow. Louis DeAngelis, a reporter for Status Coup, who has been there now 5 times. Tomorrow will be his 5th trip in just a year. He's going back. That's only made possible if we get more people signing up as paid members. God bless everybody else in independent media, but we have a higher financial bar than most of the others because of the traveling costs. Between paying Louis, John, our cameraman, the flights, the hotels, the rent-a-car, the food, it's all expensive. This trip is probably going to cost us by the end of it $3,000, maybe a little more than that. That's not nothing when you have no corporate fat cat funding you. It costs money to do these things. I'm thinking of going back to Flint probably in a week or two, possibly to shoot a mini documentary for the 10-year anniversary of the water crisis, which in April. That's not cheap. We don't have like the Soros is funding us, the remaining Koch brother funding us. We don't have any of the Democratic Party donors and vultures or the Republican Party donors. Our funding comes from you. So for those that can't afford it, we understand. But for those that can, I'm asking for 16 cents a day. That's $5 a month. I'm asking for 33 cents a day. That's $10 a month. Please, if you want to stay informed on stories like East Palestine, if you want the residents who have been poisoned there and are now sick to get their voices out, please support us financially. It's not so we could go have a nice steak dinner. It's so we could keep covering these stories. Let me read some super chats here. Double K, $49.99. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Very generous. Thank you, Seeker Gather, $5. Speaking of taxes and sticking with the story, what info do we have on about the Pentagon can't account for 1.9 trillion? What info? I don't think the Pentagon has passed an audit since Steve had hair.
Forever.
Yeah. There you go. That's the info. The Pentagon can't pass an audit because it's a giant boondoggle, and probably most of their money is going to Raytheon. $2 from Choosy Heretics Choose. Thank you. Kami John, $5 from Jules. Thank you, Jules. Double K, another $49.99. Holy cow. Thank you so much, Double K. 2 major super chats. By the way, for this trip, Colin, maybe you could let people know, we made a fundraising page just for this most recent East Palestine trip. So folks can go to statuscoup.com/trip
funding. And there it has a little bit info of our past trips. And then it has the section to donate. And right under there, a section to join as a member. So it's kind of an all-in-one spot if you're new to all of this. Or if you're already a member or anything like that, then you can just fill out the donate form and can either do anything. It'll take anything from $1 and up, and you can do a one-time payment, monthly, once a year, anything in between. We appreciate anything.
And again, this is going to living, breathing, on-the-ground journalism. No fat cat donors, no fat cat investors. You are our investors and our donors. Thank you very much. Coming up now, the premiere, first ever short film debuted at Status Coup with Ron Placone, Frank Azuri. When I say short, I mean short. I think it's five minutes, but then there's a post film panel, them talking about the film. So don't go anywhere. This live stream will redirect to Ron's short film, Frank Azuri. Really excited about this. He's worked hard on this, him and his co-star. Steve, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, just catch us on our podcast, Macro and Cheese. It comes out every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My last parting thought is just a quick one. And that is that, I talk about MMT a lot, but MMT, modern monetary theory, for those of you who are not aware of it, it may not solve anything in the sense that you have power through elections to make the economics work for you. But for people that think the wrong things about economics, MMT is a precise description of how the system actually works. It's not something that needs to be implemented. So when someone says MMT won't solve anything, what I'm hoping it will do is wake people up and radicalize them to understand how the system is rigged and how people are being lied to. And then maybe we'll start seeing people take action instead of just going, well, my hard-earned tax dollar crap. So that's how MMT, in my mind, will work, by helping people realize what's real, fight for the right things, and realize that the government isn't doing the right things. That's about it. Anyway, Jordan, thank you for letting me come on with you today, buddy.
Absolutely. And prayers to you and your family with what you're going through right now. And without further ado, let's redirect you. Don't go anywhere. The premiere of Ron Placone's short film, Frank Azzurri, coming up